Hello everyone, it's me Jamie and welcome back to another video. So basically this entire video is a giant TBR for 2020 and I have just thought of and compiled a list of 20 books that I want to read in the new year. I have a pretty wide variety and lots of reasons for why I want to read these books, but I am someone who likes going to books quite blind, so I haven't gone and looked up heaps of information about the synopsis for these books, so this video probably isn't going to be that detailed, and also there is 20 of them, so I don't want to be sitting here and end up filming an hour-long video for you guys. So basically I'm just gonna go into some little details about the books and also like why I might want to read them, and yeah, that's it really. So I hope you enjoy. So the first book on my list is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Yes, I have finally decided to give the Shadowhunter universe a go. I'm starting to get really envious of everyone who is like reading all the newer books and stuff, and like everyone's getting really excited for Chain of Gold, and I am feeling left out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting FOMO. I just want to see what all the hype is about, so I have decided to try them out. I have actually read the majority of the Mortal Instruments, but that was when I was in high school and I don't remember anything. I don't really remember particularly loving the series, but I also don't remember hating it. I just don't remember anything about the series at all. I'm mostly excited for Infernal Devices because those are the books that I have no idea about. Yeah, I'm super excited. Me and Caitlin are actually going to try and buddy read the Mortal Instruments as well, so that'll be a really fun experience. The next book I want to read is Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. So I read this Savage Song last year. I absolutely loved it. I buddy read it with Isabella and it was such a beautiful experience, and it was just a really fun like YA monster novel, you know? It was a really interesting world, and it was kind of scary as well. I kind of loved that, but I loved the characters and I loved the whole concept, and I'm surprised I haven't actually got to Our Dark Duet yet, but so this is going to be quite high on the priority list. I actually did end up reading a little bit. I think I read like 50 pages of it right before I went on my hiatus, so I actually put it aside for me to read at another date because I just wasn't into reading at the time. So yeah, hopefully I will find a time when I can read this and be really excited for it. Another super hyped fantasy book that I want to read, or fantasy series, is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I have been meaning to read this for such a long time. Even before going on BookTube as well, I found out about this book series and decided I want to read it. I'm super excited for it. I have the whole series courtesy of Yasmin from Yasmin the Reader, because she actually unhauled the series because she didn't like the first book, so she gave it to me and I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, I'm super excited. I've actually already read Six of Crows, but I decided that what I want to do is I want to read the Grishaverse trilogy first, so I can really benefit from all the world building that we see in the first book in the whole universe, and then I want to reread Six of Crows with all of this in mind, and then read Crooked Kingdom. So that's my plan. So I am very excited to pick up this. I'm not sure when I actually will, because I am in the middle of quite a few series and I'm not very smart, so I get very confused when I'm reading lots of fantasy things at the same time. But yeah, eventually I want to get to this so I can finally get to Crooked Kingdom, because I really liked Six of Crows. The next book on my list is a book that I've been wanting to read for literal years, and that is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This is a book that has been on my radar since I read The Secret History when I was 16. Or at least it was on my radar when I started doing research for more books like The Secret History a couple of years later. But this is one that kept popping up. I don't think it's similar in terms of the context, but it's similar in terms of writing style and that kind of melancholia that you feel when you read The Secret History, which, by the way, if you're new here, is my favourite book of all time. Thank you. I don't know much about this, but I think it's about a group of college students who were all friends, and then we follow them throughout the rest of their life, and it's very bleak, it's very realistic, it's very depressing, and I really love that. I've also heard that it has some LGBT plus representation in here. I think it's a story about that sort of stuff and the characters experience that, and I don't know, I'm just really excited to read it. I love melancholic, bleak, depressing books, and I love to cry. I love crying, so this is one I've been wanting to read for a long time, and I've heard that it's so beautifully written, and I just know that I will love it, so I don't know why I've been putting it off for so long. So yeah, I think this might be my next read even. I'm really excited to read it. The next book on my list is actually another melancholic one, I think, but it is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I read Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney a couple of months ago, I think, and I really loved her characters and the way that Sally Rooney told the story, her writing style. I really liked it, and I really liked the almost stream of consciousness of it and how it was really realistic and really relatable for someone in their early 20s. like me. So because I fell in love with Sally Rooney's writing, I thought I need to pick up her most recent work, and also this is the only other book she's written. I think she's written a couple of short stories that have been published, but it's just this and Conversations with Friends that are her full-length novels. But I feel like Sally Rooney has the potential to be a new favourite author of mine. I just loved Conversations with Friends so much, and I know that people actually like this more, so I'm super excited to read it. Also, my best friend Caitlin from Kate Literature read this last year as well, and she absolutely fell in love with Sally Rooney, and her opinion of this book is kind of the reason that I want to read it, because I hold her opinion in such high regard, so I'm very excited. A book that I became aware of last year and was now very much on my radar is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I think last year is the year that I really fell in love with high fantasy and adult fantasy as well. So this is one that was very much raved about and very much hyped up last year, and I know that a lot of people that I really trust loved it. I know that Chloe really likes it, so I trust these people. I really want to read it. It is a bit of a tomb, but nothing wrong with that. I've read books this length before, so look, if I can read It by Stephen King and absolutely hate it but still read like all 900 pages of it, I'm pretty sure I can read this. A book that I'm pretty sure I will love. I don't know much about this. I just know that it's a high fantasy. It's got lots of dragons. It's about a queendom also, which is amazing. I absolutely love that. I love reading about kings and queens, specifically queens, because we love women in this house. And also I think there's a female-female romance. The only criticisms I've heard of this book is that it is so much packed into one book, and it might have worked better as a series, but well, I can't wait to see what I think of it and form my own opinion. But yeah, that is something that I am going to be keeping in mind. I am probably going to be keeping tabs of every single character, because my dumbass will get confused eventually. Another book that I really want to read, it has been on my radar for a couple of years, is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. It is a middle grade fantasy, very reminiscent of Harry Potter, I've heard. Well, I don't think the story is similar to Harry Potter, but apparently the vibe and the feeling you get when reading it is very similar to Harry Potter. Thank you, Emma Books, for putting it on my radar. Also, my friend Kelly from, I think it's Velvet Library is her channel name. I'm not sure, but I'll link her down below. But she is someone who loves Nevermore so much, and hearing her rave about it has also made it very high on my priority list. I do own both the books, I just can't find them. I've owned them for a while and I've been meaning to read them for a while. So I'm very much looking forward to diving into a new middle grade fantasy and just kind of revisiting those childhood feelings. I love that, so I'm very excited to read that one. Another book that has kind of become on my radar recently is Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. This was actually gifted to me for my birthday by Chloe from Books with Chloe, so Chloe, thank you so much. I have been meaning to read it, and that is why I have put it on my list. I have kind of become obsessed with K-pop recently, which I'm sure everyone in the community has. Like last year was the year I discovered K-pop, and because of that I then discovered other things within Korean pop culture. Like I kind of became obsessed with K-fashion and Korean clothing websites, and I became obsessed with K-dramas, and this book is a YA urban fantasy, but it has very similar vibes to a K-drama. It has that touch of fantasy but very K-drama vibes, K-drama feels. So because of that, I'm very much interested in this. I think it's very fantastical, it's very dramatic and emotional, and there's a really amazing romance in this book, and I've heard nothing but good things from a lot of people on BookTube that I watch, so I'm so excited to pick this up, and I'm ready for it to be like one of my new favorites. Another book that's been on my radar and also another gift that I've been meaning to read is The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakovic. This is a self-published book, and it has been on my radar because I've heard that it is kind of dark academia. I know it's about a sports team in college, and I know it has kind of an ensemble cast, which I love. I love books that have an ensemble, so of course, big fan of that. And also this was gifted to me by my lovely friend Isabella, and she said it's one of her favourite trilogies. I'm very, very excited. It has lots of elements in it that I think I will enjoy, and yeah. I also just need to see what all the hype's about, because Isabella said it's amazing and I trust her. We share every single opinion about books, so yes. Speaking of dark academia, another book that I really need to read in 2020 is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I'm sure everyone has heard of this, and I just realised I have 2 Leigh Bardugo books on here. Very interesting on this list. But this one is probably a higher priority for me because it is dark academia, it's dark, it deals with the occult, it deals with ghosts, it deals with secret societies. basically everything that I based my entire aesthetic on when I was 18 or 19. So incredibly excited for this. This is actually an ARC that was given to me by Yasmin because she works in a bookstore and she read the book and then she wanted to buy a finished copy. So she gave the ARC to me. So I'm very excited, and she gave it to me in August and I still haven't read it, and I need to read it because I know that I will love it. It's just I received it when I was basically in the middle of a big reading slump and the beginning of my hiatus, and yeah, I can't wait to read this. I'm so excited, and I'm ready to love it. Also, actually, while I'm here, if anyone has any really good dark academia books to recommend me, please recommend them to me because I don't read enough of it and I don't actually think there's enough out there. But if you know one that is like very not well known, let me know. But please do not tell me to read If We Were Villains. I'm an ex-drama student. I don't need to relive that. Thank you. Another book I really want to read is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I am basically like an old woman in the fact that whenever like a new TV show comes out or a movie comes out and it's based on a book, I have to read the book first, unless it's Little Women. Thank you, Greta Gerwig. But this has been something I want to read for a really long time. I actually have read Margaret Atwood before and I really like her writing, and I really like the dystopian worlds that she creates. So I'm very excited to read this, and I really want to watch the TV show. Like, everyone I know watches the TV show and loves it, and I haven't yet because I've been putting off reading this when I know I'll enjoy it. I don't know why I'm like this. But yeah, honestly, I don't know much about it other than the fact that it's dystopian. It puts women in a really difficult place, and I know that Margaret Atwood is a very feminist author, so I think that it will be a feminist work. I'm not sure if it actually is, obviously, because I don't know anything about it, but I am really excited to read it. And I don't know, I just love reading about the struggles of women from the perspective of women because, like, relatable. And yeah, I've been meaning to read it for a long time. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I haven't even read most of these books, but yeah. Another book I really want to read is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I have a thing for fae. Like, I really love fae stories, like probably even more than like vampires and stuff like that, but I really love them. And I actually read her book Tithe when I was, I don't want to say a child, but like a very young teenager, and I remember liking it. I have no idea what it's about. I honestly cannot tell you anything about it, but I know that it's kind of set in the same world almost, and it has a similar vibe, and I know that people prefer The Cruel Prince. I know The Cruel Prince is very popular. I know that Melanie from Elle to the Annie really loves it. I know that Caitlin read it recently, the whole trilogy, and really loves it. And again, it's just one of those things where I'm feeling left out. I really want to read it. I'm getting FOMO. I sound like such a spoiled brat, but yeah, that's another one I really want to read. I really want to get involved with like Jude and Carden. That's all I know about it. The fairies and Jude and Carden. But it's a book I want to read soon, so let's get to it. Another fantasy book that I want to read in 2020 is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I really love kind of classic fantasy books at the moment. Like last year I read The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which is very much a classic, so I'm very excited to read this because I loved The Final Empire. I just want to become more well versed in the fantasy genre, and this is kind of like the most famous fantasy book, I think, but I'm so excited to read it. Actually, this morning I watched Aphrodite Reads' vlog. That's my friend Heather. I watched her vlog this morning where she read this and she loved it, and me and Heather have an interesting time. Like, our taste is like very different. Like, I love books that she hates, and I also don't really care about books that she loves. So it's gonna be interesting to see where I stand on this. But I read one of her favorite books recently, and I loved it. So I am putting my faith back into Heather's taste, and I'm sure I'll love this as well. And also, when I got this edition, I read the introduction, and the first sentence of the author's note is, "Once, years and miles away, a young Patrick Rothfuss learned about something called Dungeons and Dragons." And I actually love Dungeons and Dragons and play it with my friends all the time, so this is just like ideal. I'm very excited. Another book I really want to read in 2020 is Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. I actually have already read Mary H.K. Choi's other book at the beginning of this year. I read it like last week, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and I loved her writing style. So this one is definitely one that I'm going to be making a priority. I know I'm going to want to read it very soon. But this one is about a boy, I think, falling in love with like a famous pop star. That's one of my favorite tropes. One of my favorite tropes is like a regular person and a famous person being together. I love that so much. I don't know what it is about famous people. I just love reading about them, but only fictionally. I don't really care about like biographies. I don't care about real famous people, but give me fictional famous people and I am all here for it. So I'm just so excited for this to be my new favorite romantic book. I'm so excited. Everything I love. Mary H.K. Choi's writing style, her characters, and also famous people. The next book I want to read is Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I don't know anything about this really. All I know is that it's a thriller and that Gillian Flynn has written Gone Girl, which I would take a bullet for. I absolutely love that book. I love the characters. I love everything about it. And she also wrote Sharp Objects, which is a book I thought it was okay. Like, I thought it was good. I still enjoyed it. It's not my favorite thing ever, but you know, I liked it. But yeah, because of how much I loved Gone Girl, and I think Gillian Flynn is like a really good writer, I'm very excited to read this. This is just very high on my radar. I think it's about a girl whose brother is in jail, and she tries to find out if he really should be in jail or not, and she finds out some interesting truths about her past and her family, which is like my favorite trope ever, is like someone like going back into their past and finding out stuff about that. Literally my favorite thriller trope, so very excited to read this. The next book I'm going to talk about is a book that isn't very well known on BookTube, or at least I haven't seen anyone talk about it. Nobody that I watch has talked about it, but it's a book that I became aware of last year because my mum talked about it, and I just thought that it sounded so interesting. But it is Lois and Louise by Julie Cohen. This is an adult book. I'm actually not sure of the genre. I think it's just contemporary, but it basically is from two different perspectives, and it's essentially the exact same story, except in one story, the character is called Louis and he is a man, and in the other story, the character is called Louise and she's a woman. And basically, we just are reading the exact same story and witnessing the exact same character's life, but it's just through the eyes of a man and through the eyes of a woman. And that concept I'm obsessed with. I really love books that deal with gender politics, and I'm just very excited to read this. I think it's going to be something that really resonates with me, and I'm just very excited to read it. I don't know, it just sounds really fun and sounds really interesting. I feel like even though it is probably going to be a feminist book, I feel like it's probably not going to be that serious, which I'm into. Sometimes you just need a little bit of escapism, so I love my escapism with a little bit of social commentary in it, so very excited for this. Another book on my list is actually a book I've already read, but I really want to reread it this year, and that is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. This is considered one of my favorite books of all time. Like, I'm pretty sure I would put it as one of my favorite books, but I have only read it once, and I read it when I was 16, so I basically remember nothing about it, but I have a very, very vivid memory of me lying on my couch in my lounge and just tears streaming down my face, and my stepdad coming in and being like, "Are you all good?" And I'm like, "Nah." And it was because I was reading this book, so I'm very excited to read it again, and I'm ready to cry again. And yeah, like I said, I don't really remember anything about it, but I just know that it is a historical fiction about World War II, and the narrator is actually death, or the concept of death, and yeah, I'm excited. I remember loving it, so let's love it again. The next book is another gift from the lovely Isabella, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. Again, another book where I'm just feeling left out. I just want to know what everyone is talking about. It's another Fae story, which I love, and I have been meaning to read this. I am actually reading the Throne of Glass series at the moment, or at least I have been since February last year, so I really need to hurry up and finish it. But yeah, I've been reading that series, and I said that I would put this off until I finish that series, and I stand by that because, again, I'm dumb. I don't want to be confused. I've heard that this is way better than Throne of Glass series, and I think the Throne of Glass series is okay. You know, I'm not loving it, but I'm not like hating it. So I'm very excited to get to this because I know that people would die for Sarah J Maas, and I kind of want to do that as well, but I know that realistically I wouldn't right now because I'm only reading Throne of Glass. So I'm excited to get to her better series. In 2020, I really want to get into more historical fiction because I do really like historical fiction and I like the concept of historical fiction, but I don't think I've read enough. So on my list, I have put probably the most famous historical fiction story, or the most popular at the moment, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I know that this is a story set in France and it's about World War II, and I think it's all from the perspective of women and how women were affected in World War II. So I'm very interested in that. I'm very excited to read it, and I just want to become more well versed in the historical fiction genre. And that's basically all there is to it. I know that lots of people cry when they read this, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love the feeling of tears streaming down my face. So very excited to put this on my list, very excited to sob, and I need to read it. That's all really. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is a classic, and that is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I know that this is very similar to 1984. I know it's a dystopian, and I loved 1984, and I do love dystopian stories, and especially dystopian classics. So this is one that has been on my radar for a long time. One of my best friends from high school really likes this book. A lot of people I know really like this book, and I just want to become more Oh, it's like annotated. I love reading books that have already been annotated, like, because this is a secondhand copy, because I feel smart, because then I start picking up on things that they've noticed, and then I'm like, oh yeah. And then when I talk about this book with all my intellectual friends, I'll look really smart. So yeah, I don't really know what it's about other than the fact that it's a classic dystopian. And I need to read it, but yeah, that's all really. So those are all the books that I want to read in 2020. Obviously I want to read more, but those are the ones that are pretty high on my priority list. Look, I know I'm really dumb. Like, I'm sorry this video has been a mess and I haven't said anything clever about any of these books, but I'm tired. It's summer. I'm sweating up a storm, and yeah. Also, this year I really want to take part in more buddy reads. I really love buddy reading. A lot of the books that I read last year were really great experiences because I buddy read them. So if you see any of these and you're like, yes, I want to buddy read these with Leo Reads, message me on Twitter. Honestly, I'm on Twitter all the time, so message me on Twitter and say that you saw my video and you want to buddy read these with me, and I will respond and probably buddy read them with you. I'm just really busy, that's the biggest thing, but if I have time, if we find a time together, I'm totally keen to buddy read them with you. And also, I need to be held accountable because I really want to read these. So yes, please do that. So yeah, that's kind of all for this video. Let me know down below what books you need to read in 2020 and what books you want to read and what you recommend from my list as well. What should I make the biggest priority? And yeah, that's all. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye.